Oops. Hey there, Adrienne Elise here. Just thought I would pop in and talk to you about what's going on in the planets and the stars. Welcome to the Gaia Daily for March 10th through 12th, 2020. So we have had a big shift of energy. We're still reeling from this powerful full moon in Virgo. How are you doing? Just an incredible jolt of energy, powerful emotions, intense experiences going on for us with that Virgo full moon, and right on the heels of that, Mercury turning direct. Now, when Mercury turns direct and turns retrograde, it's really can be glitchy that day or so around when that turns, and energy is just a little bit weird. So that's kind of where we are right now. But what this is speaking to is moving into the next chapter. So we have Mercury is going to stay in Aquarius. And of course, once it turns direct, it kind of lingers, it's slow. It's going to stay at the same degree or so for the next week at those end degrees of Aquarius. And that means it's exactly one sign over from Saturn in Capricorn. And Saturn is getting ready to make its epic shift into the sign of Aquarius on the 23rd of this month. And so this is speaking to this, everything is about orienting our consciousness, our mental state, our belief systems, our conceptual reality to what it might mean to move into a new age. And we've spent so long the last few years just like back and forth between trying to move forward, trying to deal with the past, and it's all kind of coming to a head right now. Really, really intense energies. And yet we are moving into this next chapter, and the planets are telling us that for sure. And so Mercury there lingering the end degrees of Cancer, one sign over, semi-sextile to Saturn. And this is kind of like, can we figure this out together? Of course, that's what Mercury wants to do, figure stuff out. And so it's getting ready to, it's going to stay in Aquarius for this next week, and then it'll make its final pass over that Aquarius Pisces cusp. So there are the opportunities here for insights, revelations, synchronicities, messages trying to come through about what this shift of ages means for us. What we personally need to address or shift in our mind, our thinking, what this whole past 6 months has been all about ever since that last Mercury retrograde and the galactic center activation and those eclipses. It's like we haven't had a chance to really figure out what's going on here. That Saturn-Pluto conjunction. And so there's an interesting energy here of like, yeah, it's really intense because that Mercury retrograde was actually kind of giving us a pause. And now it's like full bore, let's go. And the planets seem to be saying right now, like lining up, like all hands on deck, speaking to preparing for this shift of ages and what needs to happen, what this is about. And finally, we might be able to get a hint and clue about our next steps or what in the heck we're doing in this individually in this time. It's been a very confusing time for a lot of souls with a lot of intense shifting internally and externally, life's falling apart as far as your physical structures, because it's trying to allow a new structure to come in. So we might be able to get little glimpses of what that might mean as this in this next week or so with Mercury direct, but still in Aquarius, and making that shift over into back into Pisces on the 17th. And in that semi-sextile to Saturn, who's like, Saturn's the first one making it over of these Saturn, Jupiter, Pluto planets, and then Mars is thrown into the mix too. Saturn's the first one to make it over into Aquarius. It's kind of like, okay, you guys, I'm going to dip my toes in the water over here and trying to figure out what's going on. And Saturn rules Capricorn and rules the structures of our life and the kind of our everyday reality. And so there's definitely energies in this new chapter is about getting a glimpse or getting a direction, getting moving on what it means to move into the new age, where we've been kind of just like so stuck in between. And yet there's also so much coming up because of this movement, right? Movement is great because being stagnant is just gets really old. But then it's like sometimes when the movement really happens, you're like, wait, can I go back to the stagnancy for a little while? So we're in that place of like, oh, okay. And there's like a lot of anxiety in the collective, of course, fear, massive fear programming right now, which really has a lot to do with collectively where we're trying to move. And it's like we can stay in fear. The fear programming is trying to keep us in the dark, right? Because a fear is a paradigm of the past. And that's what's been used to control us and keep us as sheep for thousands of years. And so as long as we're in fear, it's very convenient. You don't have to look at the darkness. You don't have to face the darkness. If you keep humanity just gripping, in fear over something that does not warrant that fear, then it's a great way to keep them distracted from the truths that are trying to come out about the darkness that needs to be revealed and healed in order for us to move forward. So, that has to do with Black Moon Lilith. The only tension aspect we're feeling right now, we have these beautiful sextiles going on. Again, it's just like this lining up of planets, the star pattern. It's like possibilities, creative solutions. We're trying to jimmy the lock. We're doing it. And then we've got this square with the nodes, Black Moon Lilith and Chiron. Just a few more days left of Black Moon Lilith and Chiron in exact conjunction. And this is an intense energy of like, these wounds and our deepest wounds around who we are, who we're allowed to be in order to exist in this planet. And this is so on the table right now because it's like the collective fear is so powerful. And it's like, no, you're going to feel how we want you to feel. No. This is your reality. We're going to tell you what your reality is, And it's like getting harder and harder as individual souls to choose your own reality. But this is really important because it's showing us how we've been kept as sheep and how we've been controlled. And so it's more important than ever to claim your inner truth and your own reality, which is just like in a couple weeks, in a week even, this big fear bloom is going to be over. And it's like, I hope that people can be like, oh gosh, did we really have to spend all that energy and distract ourselves in that way from what really matters because they told us to, right? And maybe start seeing through the lies of this control paradigm, or maybe we'll stay as sheep. We'll just see, right? But the energies of the stars and planets are saying we're running out of options. This square with Black Moon Lilith and Chiron in the nodes is like we're at the end of the road. There's the dark way or the light way. And are we going to make the leap, humanity? Or are we going to stay in fear, paralyzed, unable to act, unable to move, unable to live? And that's the deal. The poverty conscious, the fear energy, all this programming of lower vibrational stuff and always scared of like our world not being able to support us and catastrophes. And these are the lies that have been going on for thousands of years. And we've bought into them and has kept us from actually living, And it's really hard because the solution is to live. And that that's what came through the full moon activation. It was like the very next step on the journey is to find joy and peace, which is nearly impossible because the control energies, this mind control, collective mind control is like, no, you will feel the fear. This is what we're all doing now. If you want to be a part of the group, you're going to feel fear. This is what's expected of you. This is what you need to do. And it's just like, it takes a massive amount of spiritual will right now to claim something different than what the mind control, mainstream media energies are trying to tell us. And that is like a really great medicine for that is that 21 days of presence. If you've been checking that out, the more people that do that, the more we can kind of just claim a little bit of peace and sanity for ourselves, claim back the present moment, right? This stuff all comes and goes. And it's just like, but there's something that stays. And it's just, if you can claim just a little tiny bit of that, it's like huge medicine right now. And it's hard. And I think that part of what's happening And maybe what is the beautiful thing that can be revealed right now is these technologies that are being used against us to support that collective fear. And maybe that can be, maybe this is all part of it being revealed, because we can't heal it until it's revealed. But this is everything that this Black Moon Lilith Chiron square the nodes is about. And it's the only tension aspect we have right now. So it's really, really important. And it is saying, like, we are running out of options. Right? You can stay right here stuck. You can stay as a slave, or, but the future requires dropping those old stories, claiming your inner truth, claiming your sovereignty to think and feel how you want to think and feel, not how the collective technological lower grid wants you to feel. And so it's like, but you know what? And that's like really frustrating. And it makes me kind of feel sick to my stomach just talking about it. But actually, it's giving us an opportunity to see through these lies, because it's like, it's a very amplified experience of this, but we've been experiencing it for thousands of years, and kind of being like, it's pushing us to our spiritual sovereignty, to be like, wait a minute. I do not want to feel the fear that you're telling me to feel. It's like, this is a mild flu, right? It's like, what is going on here? And so maybe that's the opportunity for us as advanced souls. And we need you right now, like as many people as can get out of that programming and claim this inner peace, that space. So maybe the 21 days of presence I did as very just general this time. It's not attached to a certain day. It's not attached to the astrology. It's there for whenever you feel like you need it. And so just jump right into that 21 days of presence. It's a process of gradually claiming that peace. And it's only 5 to 10 minute videos, meditation, just kind of tapping in. And then what we're doing is we're creating a collective field that gives us more permission for that inner truth of what's really going on. And today in the 21 days of presence, day 10, it was really cool, like connecting to the earth and kind of asking her if we should be in fear. And she's like, shit is cool, right? Like, we are on a journey. And we've got to find this place of peace and trust in this bigger journey. And I think part of the bloom of the fear has to do with this shift of energies, right? And part of what's kept us back in our evolution has to do with stagnancy, kind of like attached to the same, and this is like just that, the keeping humanity in the stagnant energy, creating the same patterns over and over. But the planets, the stars, our whole cosmos, is constant. Our DNA should be moving, spinning constantly, right? Like, we can't stay here anymore. The chains that are, the ropes holding down that giant are not holding anymore. The structure of this old paradigm is dismantling, and that's exactly what this astrology is talking about. And but it's frustrating because it feels like humanity is kind of like, I'd just rather stay in fear. And I'd rather stay a sheep and just be like everybody else right now, because that's the only thing that can keep me feeling safe, when they don't see that the true safety and security of that spiritual breakthrough is right around the corner, right? But we're running out of options, so we'll just see how this plays out. But a lot of this new chapter has to do with the fact that now Jupiter is at 21 degrees Capricorn, putting it in the conjunction orb with Pluto at 24. And so right now, Mercury turning direct, we got that Virgo full moon activation happening, just like, huge shift, huge energy influx. And so I was looking, I didn't realize that actually Jupiter and Pluto stay really close through August. So we're like 6 months of this, and it is this new chapter now. Like, we have entered it. And now it starts off with a bang, with Mars coming into the mix, right? So that'll be like activating and the shooting off the rocket of this next chapter, which happens right around the time of the equinox. So really great time to be present as much as we can. And that's a great gift you can give to yourself and humanity right now. It's like throw away all those stories of what it is you need to be doing here. What's your true path? What's your next stops? What's your career? What do like trying to figure all that crap out and just be present because we freaking need it right now. And so that Jupiter Pluto is just saying like we have entered the next 6 months, right? The last 6 months was about that the Mercury retrograde Scorpio, the eclipses, the Saturn Pluto, and that galactic center activation. And now we're entering into the next phase. Now, one of the energies that's cool leading us up to this, or interesting, we'll see, but it's like Mars is coming into a sextile with Neptune. And all last month we felt Jupiter in sextile to Neptune. And this was kind of like trying to bring light and exposing, but also activating our dreams, but exposing our delusions. And it ended up being a really confusing, like, oh yeah, I think maybe I'm getting a sense of what I'm really here for, what this is about, and how I bought into these lies of the past. But it was really hard to kind of sort through that. And I think this Virgo full moon was kind of a turning point on that because of that Sun Neptune conjunction, which we're still feeling for today and tomorrow. It's just coming off now, still feeling that Venus Uranus conjunction. But Mars is now coming into sextile with Neptune, and that will be until the 19th, like leading us right up into, we'll be feeling it through the 19th up to this equinox. And Mars, of course, wants to go, and he's impatient, and he says, come on, like, can we, enough wallowing around in the mud? Can we put a motor on the boat? Can we do something here? And so it might be able to like actually use the little tinkling, whatever was trying to happen with that Jupiter sextile Neptune of seeing through the delusions and dreaming a new dream. And now Mars is like, let's go, let's do this, break the chains, right? And so the energy coming through around this is like, oh, we've been in this like so scared to move into the future, so scared of the past, so stuck. And yet Mars sextile Neptune say, maybe it doesn't have to be so hard, right? Like, why are we making it so hard? Let's just do it. So we'll see what that's about. And like I said, we're still feeling a little bit of this Venus, very powerful conjunction of Venus and Uranus, saying that our way forward does require, because it was sextile the north node, trine the south node, and our way forward does require a radical change in self-worth, that maybe the Aquarian age, the new energies available, the new dream that is available, the higher octave of the Aquarian energies requires a radical shift in our self-worth. And I know I've talked about this, but these souls having like just so much karma on your plate to address and deal with in this lifetime, and so much you've wanted to accomplish and complete. But there's also like a myriad of like just a bucket full of blessings that are trying to come in. And yet when you're in this like struggle of making it through and trying to just all this, the trauma being triggered and the past life garbage that you finally are able to address as a soul. And it's hard to imagine what it would feel like for that U-turn, that 180-degree turn, and like shit's coming together for you, and your timeline landing, and your people showing up, and clarity. So it's like, and it's interesting because it kind of gives an anxiety feeling. Like, it's like, so this is where we're at, that Venus Uranus is like, we gotta, it's a big shift to go from everything feeling like it's working against you for so long to like your blessings landing. And so that radical shift in self-worth. Now, this is interesting because Venus Uranus came together, kind of rang that bell of this disruption in these self-worth patterns. And now Uranus is in sextile to the north node exact. That's going to be exact through the 22nd, right up through the equinox. And so Uranus sextile that south node, of course, then trine the south node. It's like, yeah, these are the changes that need to happen, radical changes in our self-worth, in our ability to receive, in our ability to feel nurtured, in our ability to find our value in Taurus, our value system of this world, in the collective consciousness, our money system. But mostly this is speaking to your being able to value your gifts, because how are you going to ever receive them? And I work with so many people that are like, I know I feel like there's something I need to do, but I don't think anybody will want it. And maybe I don't even really have anything to offer, and it's like, well, if you've had all this shit go down and all this energy working against you, maybe that's because you have something really amazing, and it's time to own it. And that's what this Uranus sextile the North Node is supporting us in doing. And then trying the South Node, saying we have harmonious solutions to break out of that old programming, the chains, get out of the dungeon, get out of the prison cell, and this is what it is for these souls, that do really have a lot to offer here and know this deep inside, but feel so disconnected from it. You have been put in quarantine, and it's interesting, this bloom of fear, because maybe that can help us move this deeper programmed fear. Because a lot of these souls, it's like, if I saw them, walking down the street, I'd be like, hey, are you scared of your own power? You'd be like, what are you talking about? But deeply programmed into on a cellular level from ancient past lives, that could be very, very true. And what's keeping you from fully owning your gifts and what you really want to do here. And you have something to do, you are here, you've gone through so much to be here, and yet a complete disconnection. And this Uranus square the North Node, trine the South Node is like, yeah, get out of those old stories already, right? Like, start vibrating in the Aquarian Age and allowing your gifts to land. So that's a lot about what this next chapter is about. And so really powerful energies, and so much saying, like, all of the planets right now are on board. Everybody's paying attention. In the astrology in the past, it's been like, well, this is happening over here, this is happening over here. But like, everything right now is about the same thing, kind of. And it's like saying, yeah, now's the time, all hands on deck. And that energy of like humanity, we're running out of options. You can stay in the dark or you can move into the light. And, maybe this is this bloom of collective fear, because the fear is much easier than facing the darkness that's trying to be revealed of what's been really happening to us, what we've allowed to happen. This is the pain, this is the pain. The pain is like, say you're in an abusive relationship. You didn't know it was abusive. You thought it was love. It was so subtle. It was like, that covert energy. And you're like, oh God, I can't believe that I bought into this, right? And that's what we are doing collectively as we wake up to how we've been controlled and kept in fear and poverty consciousness and lied to, and like all this technology that's available that we're not told about, that's being used against us. As long as, see, this is the Aquarian Age. It's about technology. And we have like all this alien technology out there. It's in our cell phones. Like, does anybody ever question or think about the fact of like how we can get so much? It's like quantum computing. Like, where did this technology come from? Nobody talks about it, or it's like, oh, that's cool. I got a cool phone in my hand, right? I can do all this cool stuff, right? And it's like, that technology can also be used against us to control us and to keep us as sheep, right? And this is a lot of this Black Moon, Lilith, Chiron crossroads with the nodes energy, the tension. And so it's like a waterfall of truths that are trying to come forward around all of this stuff. And so much just darkness beyond what we can imagine. Of course, we don't want to look at it, but the truth is out there. If you want to see it, it might make you sick to your stomach, but collectively, we're at this point where the pain is being like, oh my gosh, like, I bought into these lies. I let like the news feed tell me how to feel and what to think and what reality was real, and never questioned it, right? It's like, why aren't we looking at the facts of the coronavirus, right? Why aren't we actually looking at, but it's so much easier to just go along with what everybody else thinks and what the news is telling us, right? But it's like, if we really look at the facts, it doesn't make sense to have this huge fear energy. And it's like, don't we remember Ebola? And don't we remember the swine flu? And it's like all during an election year, you know? And so this is this Jupiter-Pluto energy coming together to dismantle, bringing possibilities and expand. So Jupiter is like a big crystal. It doesn't have like a specific energy necessarily as its own. It's just, it wants to expand and grow and bring possibility, right? And so Jupiter with Pluto is expanding the dismantling of the structures. And that's where we're at. So this is the next 6 months. And we might be looking at a very different way of looking at the world, or a very different world after this 6 months. And that's like, maybe put aside exactly what you need to do for your path and your job and your skill. I mean, owning your gifts and owning your love, but maybe part of owning the gift you are here in this world is being present for the truth and being present for this shift that humanity has to go through, that's going to be really hard and really fast. And those of us who have been going through it, we've had years to kind of adjust to this. And imagine if that had to happen in 6 months. So it's just a really intense energy. And this is maybe why you're here, and to just be present right now, not to worry too much about exactly what your work looks like, but know that being present in peace and knowing that we're moving towards a better future and a better earth and a better age. That's what's being asked of you right now. And to see through that, maybe Mars sextile Neptune can help those souls that are called to this to see through the delusion, so you can just stay present with the greater truth of what's really happening. So I'm glad we're in it together, and hang tight in these energies, because now that we're moving, it's going to be, but that's a good thing to remember too. You're going to feel intensity. You're going to feel the fear. You're going to feel all this, but it's also like, it's shifting very fast. So you can kind of be like, okay, this is going on right now, but it's going to change. And so thanks so much for being here and being present and being on the journey together. And I look forward to seeing you soon on the next update, hopefully that 21 days of presence. Until then, I'm Adrienne Elise. Namaste.